Hi everyone, welcome to the 30th episode of Blue Collar Hockey Talk. My name is Wes Atkinson. I'm here with my co-host Scott Feeney. Even though there was only one game between our last recording and today's, we have so much to talk about. It was an amazing game between the Jets and the Maple Leafs. We have to talk about Sidney Crosby, Chara. We're going to go over that game for sure. Some really awesome news about what the Maple Leafs did to help their brethren in the AHL. And one other thing we're going to bring back, fan favorite segment. It's going to be a special edition of Bandwagon Jumping. How are you doing today, Scott?
Awesome, man. Yeah, no, I'm doing really good. I'm pretty excited to see that, character in the Leafs dressing room is strong at an all-time high. Great game that we watched. My girls, they got to stay up and watch the first period, and then I showed them the clip of good old Jumbo Joe and what it means to get fired up in hockey. Buddy, 30 episodes, eh? That's pretty cool. And I mean, I know that we're just trying to figure out how to even get this out to anybody. But what I do like though, Wes, is that I feel like we've gotten in a groove, man. Like I find that we get things pretty spot on. I love talking hockey with you. I've enjoyed all these 30 shows, and let's keep her going, man.
Yeah, ditto. Let's see what happens, man. I really think we're finding our groove, like you said, and I want to find ways to make things better and get it out more to get some eyes on this, right? And I want to get some comments about it. I want to see positive and negative things about how we can make this better for everyone.
Yeah, me too. I mean, if anybody's got an advertising company or a way of doing that, hey, we've got a nice space right around here or there that you can put your name if you can help us out, and get some more eyes on it. Better for you too. But anyways, hockey talk. Let's go, man.
Yeah, let's get right into it. But let's get into this first. So during the broadcast of the game on April 24th, it was reported that the Leafs' well-compensated NHL players had pooled their money together to make a contribution to the AHL brethren. The Leafs were trying to keep this story quiet. Thurs was asked about it during the press conference, and I quote, "I have to give it to Spets. A lot of credit on this one. He kind of brought it to the forefront from a leadership standpoint, and the leadership group thought it was really important." End quote. What do you think of that?
I love it, man. And I love that there was absolutely zero self-servingness to this. There wasn't any reason to, they're not trying to get it out there. Like, I mean, hell, Tavares even said, I when he got asked, heard you kept this pretty quiet. He's like, apparently not quiet enough. They didn't want this. They didn't care for it to get out. That's not why they did it. I love it. The character of these guys. I didn't realize the salaries in the AHL. Did you?
Well, I knew they weren't the best. I got it here. The minimum contract in a regular AHL season is $51,000 US, right? But this season, what makes it tough is there's a 52% cut because it's prorated, and then there's taxes on top of that. So, Toronto is an expensive city to live in, man. And even if you are sharing a condo with another guy, you're not wealthy or making a ton of money on that type of money.
No, not at all. That's part-time job stuff. Like when you're at half of that, I don't know, it's a hard one, man. And to see that the Leafs cared enough about these guys to take care of their own, as they said, that's huge. It really is. I mean, it meant not just something to the Leafs. That meant something to those people's families.
Oh, for sure.
It's awesome. I love it. It's one of those heartwarming things that that kind of sometimes goes unseen in sports. You only hear, I love that kind of thing that happens in sports, man. And the Leafs are leading the charge in character. And when's the last time I've been able to say that?
A long time, I bet. And it's a bit tough too, because as soon as they were asked about it, you could tell they weren't comfortable talking about it. This is something that they just wanted to do under the table to help out, some other guys and some other hockey players that are still fighting for their chance to live their dream and possibly play in the NHL. So you could tell, it was cringeworthy watching them talk about it, because they just didn't want to take credit for it.
No, I agree. And I mean, that's all the more to it, isn't it? It just speaks volumes right across. It's a great story, man. And I love that Spezza, his Toronto Maple Leaf statues getting built, how does that happen when you come at the twilight of your career? I'm not actually being serious. You're not building a statue, Spezza, but he's putting a hell of a story together about Jason Spezza in the blue and white.
Well, let's move on to a little bit of hockey news here. So yesterday, Chara played his 1,600th game. And originally, he was selected in the third round, 56th overall by the Islanders in 1996. He spent 4 seasons in New York, 4 in Ottawa, 14 in Boston, and is currently in Washington, man. What's your memory of Chara?
My memory of Chara, dude, like I actually picture him in Boston. It's always in Boston.
Really?
You
Okay.
know, I know. I could have it where he's in Ottawa. I could go way back if I want, but it's just playoff series against Chara just seemed to be tough. I don't have a single individual memory
Hmm.
on Chara. I'm sorry, I don't. Like it's nothing that's just going wham. When I think of Chara, I just think that the guy's an ultra leader of all sorts. Um,
When I think,
one of the most, yeah, I don't know. You got
yeah,
to give me one, man. I
I
don't have a single play.
I have a few things. I remember hearing about Chara and hearing like he's 7 feet tall on skates. That's a monster of a man, right? The NHL also had to change its rule on stick length because of him. Like they actually had to modify it. And I think it's been modified for him and Tyler Myers and other guys that are really tall. So it's crazy to think that one guy can change the rules in a professional sport league, right? I have another thing about him. I just remember him ragdolling Brian McCabe. Do you remember that fight?
I
Just
do
grabbing
actually.
him
Yeah,
and
I can picture it.
throwing him around in Ottawa, and like McCabe looked like he weighed 5 pounds, and it was just like a dog on a bone, just waving him around.
It was like he picked a fight with a giant.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
like we watched some mismatched WWE event.
Mhm. Mhm. And
Yeah.
I do have one personal memory about this, and this one bit me pretty hard. In Game 7, when the Leafs collapsed, when it was 4-1, I remember thinking to myself, be like, God, that Chara, he just can't win against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Yeah,
Oh,
that came
that's an
back.
awful thought. Oh,
Yeah.
that's an awful thought.
Yeah.
Oh, those are those thoughts that hurt. You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean? Like you
It
almost feel like, did I jinx it? The world centers and revolves around me, right? Like
one
superstition.
100%. I remember just thinking that because it's crazy to think when he was in Ottawa, he was on those teams where the Leafs beat them 4 times in a row in the playoffs, right? So to me, he just represented a guy that could never get it done against the Toronto Maple Leafs until then.
Yeah, don't. I don't know. It was. It's weird seeing him in a Washington's jersey, in a Washington Capitals jersey, isn't it? After so long in the blue, in the brown and gold.
Yeah, it definitely is, man. But I'm sure we'll have some more things to talk about him when he retires. Like he's going to the Hall of Fame. What do you think?
Oh, he's a Hall of Fame for sure. Like
Yeah.
first ballot. Like he's got all the stats and credentials. He's got the cup. You know,
Hmm.
like he's done it everything that you need to.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, no, he's had a hell of a career. I've hated playing against him. Um, the whole time. Well, except for last year in the playoffs. He looked. I didn't think he was coming back this year. But, well,
Hmm.
hell, good on him.
Yep. Let's go from one guy who's going to the Hall of Fame to another guy who's definitely going to the Hall of Fame. Sidney Crosby made some history. He got his 55th point of the season against the Devils, and he clinched his 16th straight point per game season. So only Gordie Howe and Wayne Gretzky have more seasons with a point per game at 17 and 19 respectively. And I think Gretzky is the only one to do it 19 in a row, like starting in the NHL.
Yeah, because it's just Gretzky and Crosby right now. Crosby and Gretzky are the only ones to start in the NHL and do the first 16.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
the only two. And like that's an unbelievable achievement. The guy has been like to think about that 16 years in a row.
Hmm.
Like you're a point per game player in your late 30s or mid to late 30s. Sorry, bud. Um, it's he's an incredible player. Like what a
Yeah.
leader. I don't know who you'd want to pick over him on your team. Like
Ooh.
if you actually said to me right now, like, and you gave me 5 Hall of Fame players, and you could pull them out of a hat, and would you pick any of them over Sidney Crosby? Who
Hmm.
would you pick over Sidney Crosby?
Ooh, I don't know. I like Gordie Howe was something else, man. The clips I've seen from him, he was a force to be reckoned with, and he was just such a tree of a man too, man. He was massive, massive guy. Um, I do think that Sidney Crosby is underappreciated in, and what I mean by that is, could you imagine if he was drafted by a Canadian team and not in Pittsburgh? Right? Like it would just be crazy the amount of press and attention he would have got because remember when he went to Pittsburgh, he saved that franchise. That franchise was bankrupt. They were in a crappy building. They would have been gone. They would have been moved out of Pittsburgh if he hadn't been drafted by Pittsburgh.
The owner of the team came out of retirement to play with him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
talk about needing to make sure that you're selling seats and getting this team going in the right direction. Mario
Mm-hmm.
Lemieux got on the ice and played with Sidney Crosby, didn't he?
Yep. Maybe that's a guy who I would take over Crosby. Mario Lemieux at his prime, he was the magic one, man. He could score and just go through guys like no one else could.
You go look at the record books. Tell me who won the scoring titles in a 20-year span through the 80s and 90s. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? 3 names showed up, and when Yager was only on there a couple.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
It's something to see. Like when you think of how lucky the Pittsburgh fans have been, they had Mario Lemieux and Jagger as a team, and then they had Crosby and Malkin as a team, and for pretty much like the best parts of their careers, right? And it's just unfair, man. It's just unfair.
it is to think like they were bad when they went to get Crosby. Well, hold the phone here. They just won 2 cups within 10 years of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, no, they've gone through 2. I guess you can't call them dynasties, but they've gone through 2 unbelievable eras of hockey, and to be a fan of that would have been extremely fun.
Yeah, for sure. Well, here, man, how about we get right into the game last night? The Leafs at Winnipeg, 4-1 win for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Awesome game. When you look back at it, it was pretty much a must-win for the Jets if they wanted any realistic chance of winning the North Division. And I thought they looked good at the beginning of the game when they scored just over a minute in.
Yeah, you know, like they were there to play. These 2 teams hate each other. Like we've got a rivalry on our hands, and I love it. But you're right. Winnipeg needed to win that game, and they lost 4-1.
Mm-hmm.
I think that when we felt like there were chinks in the armor for the Toronto Maple Leafs and Leaf Nation, or maybe not we, but you know, when we were on our bit of a skid, that's hockey, and the Leafs shut the door hard. Campbell looked great.
Yep.
Rasmus Sandin looked awesome.
Let's talk about that hit, man.
Please do.
That hit, if that stadium was filled, I'm pretty sure even Jets fans would have gotten up. We would have heard like a gasp because he hit Wheeler so hard. Like the fact that he was laid out on the ice and they stopped the play because they really thought he was injured. And it wasn't a dirty hit. Like Sandin just saw him coming and he braced for it and pushed back. And like he's within his rights to do that and protect himself.
I'll tell you, Sandin gives up 6 inches and 40 pounds.
Yeah.
Like you better damn well believe that he has every right to do that, because he was going to get smoked, or so I thought. I didn't know he had that in his game. Like he just turned and did this back check and flattened him, man. Like I saw a picture of it, and his whole body is just like absorbed into this check. Like what a play.
Yeah. Like Blake Wheeler's probably one of my favorite players in the league, but man, he did not look good on that. Like he was so surprised about what Sandin was able to do, because I think he was going in, and I don't think he was going to lay him out, but I think he was going to definitely ride him into the boards at least. But Sandin was just having none of it.
Oh no, it was such a heads up play. It was extremely smart, and that's what I remember talking about with him. You know, when we went over Sandin in the past, is that he's a very smart player, but I didn't quite realize that you know also correlated into being smart in the physical side of the game, like in regards to putting a guy on his ass. It was super cool. And I mean, he even got a look on the first power play.
Yeah, he did. And I think, you know what, that power play, there's nothing set in stone when it comes to that power play, man. Those guys are just they're going through whoever they can to see what's going to click. Another guy that was fired up yesterday, Jumbo Joe, man. I thought that goal he scored too. Let's talk about that one first. It was the wraparound, and we were talking about Chara being a tall guy. If it wasn't Joe Thornton or Chara doing that puck isn't going in the net. He's not beating Hellebuck across the ice like that.
No, that was impressive. Like he came out and played a great game. Like what a hell of a goal. And I love seeing the fire coming out of Joe Thornton. Like people were saying, hey, why is he here? What are we keeping him on the ice for? That's why. The leadership and the character, that's felt throughout the entire bench. Like my favorite, like I could just see it. Like when he goes up, he cross-checks him, you know, he's shoving him with the lumber, and I guess broke the stick, through the stick. He yells at the bench, give me another one. He might as well have said, just give me a stick. Like I'm going to hit him. Because he just grabbed it and went right back to him and just kept going. Like, and then he comes out of the box and goes right back in, draws a penalty with it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't know. I would love to have heard the microphone on that. That
Oh
would
my
have been
God.
verbalage gold.
Yeah, and like it's one of those things too when you see Ehlers just laughing and shaking his head, and he's trying to flip it around, like make Thornton look like a crazy old man because he's just rambling on. But from everything I've read and heard about Thornton, is he's pretty quick-witted, funny guy. So the chirps coming out of him must have been awesome. And we were talking about this earlier. Could you imagine being the timekeeper or the doorman? You'd probably be just laughing so hard. But thankfully, you have a mask on, so you don't have to really cover your face and hide it. So yeah, I
Funny,
agree,
it's
man. I wish that there was a way that like the NHL could monetize this, where it's like, hey, the players are mic'd. It's you know, it's pay per view. Pay an extra whatever, like $50 a season. You can watch it on this channel and hear what the players say. But you'd have to have it in a way where it's like this is not recommended for children, clearly, because those guys are just going back and forth. It would, but it would just add some entertainment value.
you could be onto something there. That could be a really cool idea because one of the new fads, we've talked hockey cards in the past. One of the new fads is this electronic um, clip that you can purchase. I don't know what it's called. I should really have had the name down, but there's an electronic clip, and the NBA has already taken off with it, and they will sell um, rare footage or clips that you get to view X amount of times, and it like we're talking thousands of dollars. People are
Hmm.
bidding on these things, thousands. Can you imagine if you had rare footage clips that was agreed upon by the NHL and the player to sell that clip?
Wow, yeah, that'd be interesting.
That could be the NHL's way into that game. That
Hmm.
could be really cool because hockey players are witty. They're witty
Yes.
on the ice.
Yeah, there definitely are some guys who are witty. Let's go back to some play on the ice. Marner got his 100th goal of his career. It was not a beautiful goal, but hey, we'll take any bounce we can get. It was such a weird bounce off the stanchion, came right to Marner when Hellebuck was going around the net and he put it in. And they showed a really good clip too of Marner's first goal, and I remember that when he was so jacked up and the crowd just went nuts. So it's crazy to think that he's already hit 100.
He's having an amazing career.
Mm-hmm.
He's writing himself a storied Toronto Maple Leaf career. That's a boyhood dream, and
Oh
this
yeah.
kid's living it. It's so cool, and I'm watching it. Like this is it. He's magic on the ice, and my dad actually, when Marner got drafted, he was sitting at a table and he was with a couple of people that were sitting across from him, about his age, same age as my dad, and he was wearing a shirt that said draft day, and it had the date of Marner's draft. My dad just pointed and went, "What's up with the shirt?" He goes, "Oh, my boy got drafted. My grandson got drafted." And he's like, "Who's your grandson?" He's like, "Mitch Marner." He's like, "No way." He's like, "Yeah." And he goes, "And you know what? People aren't giving him the hype that he should get. He's gonna be right there with Matthews. And boy, wasn't he right."
Yep, it's for sure, man. And I think he's not Robin to Batman. They're Batman to Batman. Those two.
100% they are because they're lethal together. They're
Mm-hmm.
both plus 16. They're both they're lights out. They're arguably top two duos in the league. Not
Yeah,
arguably, they are.
they're one of them. Yeah, for sure. What is a shame though? Like originally scheduled was supposed to be a third game against Winnipeg this week, but due to all the changes, that game has been pushed back, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be the last game of the season for both of these teams, and that's a shame, man, because that last game, I really doubt it's going to mean anything. Like if the Leafs don't fall on their ass, they're going to win the division, and the Jets are probably going to come in second. Um, if anything, that would be what the game's for. It's like who's second and who's third, and it might be more important to the Jets. So it's just a shame that it's just not going to have that fire. Because if they played a third game this week, those two teams fired up against each other, it would have been awesome.
It would have been. It would have been. You're right. And that last game, like it feels like Anderson's going to get back on the ice at some point over the last 10
Mm-hmm.
games, which is going to throw the whole cap situation out the window. Thank God I'm not the one in charge of that. But I would say that you're right. That would make it look like we're going to be like a dress 16 or 17
Yeah,
guys, save some money. That's the only way to make that work. And
yeah,
they've got the cushion in the standings to do that. But
yeah.
just don't get hurt doing that.
Exactly. Don't get hurt, and like if it's such a nice place to be in as a Leaf fan, where you could have a meaningless game at the end of the season, because it has been a long, long time since we've had something like that happen to us, eh?
Big time. I mean, even up to last year. Like last
Hmm.
year, we were tied with Columbus on the last
Oh,
playoff spot when the
good
season
God.
ended.
Yeah.
That's garbage.
Yeah.
But anyways, we've come a long way since then. Character has been added to this team.
Definitely, man. Well, that's enough about that game. Let's move on. We have a special edition of Bandwagon Jumping, the Playoff Race Edition.
Off the wagon?
I think it's off the wagon.
I think it's on the wagon.
Let's start off with the division we know the most about, man. The North Division. Who would have saw this about a week ago, man? In fourth place, we have the Canadiens with 49 points, 10 games remaining. In fifth place, we have the Flames with 45 points, 9 games remaining. And in sixth, the Canucks, 41 points and 15 games remaining. How do you think this is going to shake out for that last playoff spot?
Listen, I am just very thankful that nobody was listening to us to take our suggestion in regards to canceling Vancouver's meaningless games.
Yeah.
Because they've got some very meaningful games coming up. They are, I'll tell you what, Wes, I would be scared as a Toronto Maple Leaf finishing first, fan of that team. I wouldn't want to face a Canucks team if they do manage to catch
Really?
Montreal.
Okay.
Because that would mean that they're the hottest team in the damn league, man.
It's true.
Like,
yeah.
like they would be coming in on fire. And I don't like catching teams that are currently holding lightning in a bottle. And that's got the chances of doing that. Montreal's in trouble, man. Like they don't have Price in net. They are known for going on losing streaks multiple times a year.
Mhm.
And I feel like we're watching it just about to happen again. Calgary, yeah, they're there. I'm not saying a lot about them. They're shocking me because they traded away in that room. It should have felt like our management has said we're not going to make it.
Mhm.
But it's almost like they're saying, you know what, in spite of that, screw you, we're going to prove you wrong. And I hope
Yeah.
we've got a great race there. Montreal doesn't realize it, but they've created a 3-horse race, and it's going to be a dogfight, man. That's going to be close.
Yeah, they really have it. And I really think this race is so important on the game tomorrow night between the Flames and Montreal. Like, if the Flames win that game, they're going to be 2 points behind. Even though Montreal has one game in hand, that's not a big, big difference. And that's not insurmountable, right? And I think it's hard to believe, man. At the beginning of the season, Montreal came out of the gate flying. And people were like, they're the best team in the division. They're going to run away with it. Look what's happened, man. They are so streaky, and we talk about the Leafs being streaky. The Canadiens are way worse than the Leafs are when it comes to it. It's hard to imagine. Like Drouin, I think he only has like 3 goals on the season. They just haven't had contributions up and down that lineup, and with Price gone, they don't have one of their all-star players.
No, you're 100% right. Like they rely on Price so heavy and have for years, that right now Price needs to rely heavy on the team just to have a playoff game to play in. It's going to be rough, man. Like Montreal, I'm not betting on them, but I'll tell you right now, as a Leaf fan, I'm not. At first, I thought it would be really cool to be, see, maybe we could play a part in, winning some of those games down the stretch against them.
Mm-hmm.
And have it so they miss the playoffs. But I'll tell you what, careful what you wish for. I'm not wishing for anything. I'll play whoever the hell we play, but I won't lie to you. I don't mind a bit seeing Montreal lose because this is blue-collar hockey talk. I kind of bleed blue and white.
Exactly, and it is something to say. Like the Leafs actually have 4 games against Montreal remaining this season. So depending on how the next game against Calgary goes for them, that can really determine their outcome of the season.
Big time, man. Big time.
So
let's go into the Central.
Before we get to the Central, who do you think is going to get that final spot between the 3 teams?
I think Montreal's going to hang on by an absolute thread.
You think so? Yeah.
I do.
Man, my second team is the Flames, so I am cheering them on, man. I want them to get in, and I think it would just make me happy that Montreal Canadian fans would be sad.
Finally, we get to rub it into you, given I'm not that kind of a guy. I don't do that a lot.
100%. But yeah, like you're saying, the Central Division.
Central Division, my man. So we got another 3-horse race going in for that final playoff spot. 4th place, Nashville Predators, got 54 points, 7 games remaining. 5th place got the Dallas Stars, 52 points with 9 games remaining. And then Chicago Blackhawks are still hanging around, 49 points, 8 games remaining in 6th.
Man, I don't believe in Nashville. I think before the trade deadline, people were thinking they were going to pick them apart. And and give them credit. They've been able to win games. Chicago has kind of been up and down this whole season. Everyone thought they were going to make the playoffs. Patrick Kane was talked about being the MVP for a little while, but they've just kind of come back to earth. Dallas, they made it to the finals last year, and it's amazing that so many people seem to forget that. I really think Dallas has the best chance to catch Nashville and take that last playoff spot.
It's gonna go down between them two. I mean, Chicago's just gonna be there enough to be a thorn in someone's side, but they won't make it. Nashville is gonna be tough to knock off, but those two games in hand, let's see how they play those. I'm gonna just go against you on this one, man, because I think Nashville's got players on that team that they can dig deep. They got a lot of character guys in that room. I think that they've got Nashville's gonna make it over them.
Nice.
They are.
Really? That would a fall from grace, eh? Dallas going from, being in the final and now making the playoffs. That's tough.
I guess so, but I almost felt like it was a Cinderella run for them to make it to the final.
Really?
Like, I don't feel like I do, man. Isn't that wrong? Like, I can't help it. Like, it didn't feel like that was the right team to be representing in a final. That was just me, but I was also maybe a little bit out of touch after the buy-in or the play-in round because I was just peeved, man. So whatever. I felt like a Cinderella run though. That was me.
All right. Well, how about the West Division, man? We got the Arizona Coyotes in 4th place with 46 points, 8 games remaining. In 5th place, the St. Louis Blues, 46 points, 11 games remaining. 6th place, San Jose, hanging around, a bit of a stretch to make it, 41 points, 9 games remaining. What do you think?
Well, I think that there's a team that I've watched come from the basement in mid-season, last place in the entire league, came back and won a cup. They've got the most games remaining there in the St. Louis Blues. 46 points, buddy, they're going to be tough to beat. They've got a lot of players on that team that know how to get it done and have got it done. And, you've got players like Hoffman that's starting to light the lamp a lot. You've got a lot of stuff going on in St. Louis that's going well. They've got a goalie that knows how to play. St. Louis is my team out of them. I think that Arizona's got to get out of the playoffs.
Yeah, man, I definitely agree with you. I don't think San Jose really has a shot. Like, they're mathematically in it, but I think they're a bit of a hot mess right now. I'm going to stick to my guns. I said at the beginning of the season, the Arizona Coyotes are going to make it. I think they're going to hold on, and they're going to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm not bandwagon off of that either because I bet against you on that. There was no way Arizona's making that. Did we put something on the line on that one?
I think we did. We have we have some beer on that, I think.
All right, man. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to the nice cold and crispy beer out of that cooler, my man.
Well, you and me both. So the East Division, this one's a bit different though, man. The 4 teams going to the playoffs, it's just a formality, man. We have Washington in first place with 66 points, 8 games remaining. In second place, we have Pittsburgh with 65 points, 8 games remaining. In third place, the Islanders with 63 points, 8 games remaining. The 4th team is Boston. They're going to be in that 4th spot. I don't think they have a chance to really fight for the to win the division title. But these 3 teams, I think this is quite the race at the top of the division.
It is. They've just kind of been hopping around on each other for a while here, eh? I'll tell you, Brian Burke, didn't he get into one hell of a wicked place there, eh? Like getting into that president. I mean, but good for him. So he should be. He's a good hockey mind. I love listening to him. That's tough, man. It's going to come down. Okay, you want to know something, my man? I think I said it at the beginning of the year. I'm gonna stick with it too. I think that the Islanders are gonna push for that. I think you're going to see them finish strong. I do. The other two, I know you're supposed to be going with Washington, Ovier, Crosby. Well, you know what? I'm going with Lou. I'm going with Lou Lamoriello and what he's put in place. I'm going with Barry Trotz and what he does behind that bench. These guys, those are the guys that I think are going to get that team and help push everyone. Yeah, the Islanders going to win that division.
I think the Washington Capitals, man, they're going to be able to win this division. They have just been good all season long, and I think they've been in first majority of the time in that division. And it's weird because it's like they're sneaky good. They've been on top of that division, and it's like they can play any way they want. They can play the patient style game against the New York Islanders and beat them. They have the skill to beat Pittsburgh a lot of times. And I think they just have the size to compete with Boston, right? I saw a Washington-Boston game earlier this week, and it was one of the best games I've seen this year. So I definitely think Washington's going to be able to win this division.
All right, man. I hear you on that, but I just want to go out on a limb and say that nothing's out of the realm to say that I'm not. See, I don't like Boston at all.
Mm-hmm.
So like, and I like seeing rookie cards go up in value. I'd love to see Lafreniere get hot. The Rangers catch Boston. That's not done. It's not done.
I think
it's kind of done.
It's kind of done, man. But
it's kind of done.
Before we move on, I want to talk about this for a second. So, man, it's when people talk about the easiest division or whatever worst division. At first, people were talking about the North Division, about how the Canadiens and the Leafs and the Jets were just beating up on these bad teams and able to stack their points. But look at the West Division. 3 teams have already clinched a playoff spot because they're so far ahead. Like, they've just been beating up on the teams from LA and St. Louis and Arizona. Like, we have 10 games left in a truncated season, and those teams have ran away with it. And then in the East Division, like I said, it's the 4 teams, they're gonna make it, and there's another 4 teams that were just garbage. I don't want to say the Rangers weren't garbage, but you look at the Sabres and the Devils, they were just punching bags for everyone else. So there's no way that the North Division was considered the easiest division in hockey, in my opinion.
Not when the 6th place team is still the one that can catch you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm talking about like as far as the Leafs, like, you're not going to see an X beside our name until there's 2 or 3 games left.
Yeah.
Like it's just not in the cards. It's too. Yeah, no, that was garbage talk the whole time. That was just the fact that more people are talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs because they're the biggest team in the league, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's who you talk about. People get mad because it's the center of the hockey universe. Well, guess what? It kind of is.
It kind of is.
Yeah. It kind of is.
Yeah, it was just something that I was looking at, saying like, God, like these divisions, the way they're shaking out, there are the contenders, and then there's really the pretenders, man. And there's really no one in the North that's like that. And I still think Ottawa is the best, worst placed team in the league by far.
Big time. That was the greatest call going. Like, because I look at how they've played against those top teams. Like, if Ottawa didn't come out of the gate 2-12, this could have been a completely different year. But you can say that about anyone. But whatever, it's true. Like, after that, they've been a really decent team. Decent. Yeah. So best worst hockey club in the league. Bingo.
Yeah. All right, well, how about this day in hockey history? I remember this one, man. 2012, Joel Ward scored 2 minutes, 57 seconds of overtime to lift the Capitals to a 2-1 win against the Bruins in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference quarterfinals. I thought that was awesome. Also, another cool thing about that game, Washington coach Dale Hunter became the first person in NHL history to score a Game 7 overtime goal and coach the team to a Game 7 overtime victory. And it was another cool thing about that series. Washington and Boston became the first teams to play a 7-game series in which every game was decided by 1 goal. That's as close as it can get, eh?
That's playoff hockey, man. That's fun stuff. Like, yeah, and you had a lot of players right in their prime right there, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's pretty cool. That is pretty neat.
Yeah. And Joel Ward's got a special place in my heart, man. He's from Scarborough. He worked his way up to the league. And I remember another story that came out of this was all the crap he took on social media, man, about a black guy from Canada eliminating Boston from the playoffs. It was tough with everything that came out of Boston after that game.
Yeah, I mean, there's some black guys in sports, like there's some moments that are not so great.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, that is a pretty cool story about Joel Ward. I just want to toss one thing in there. It's a little off, but I just saw it. It was like last week. I meant to say it in our last show. It was 4 years ago that we had Dart Guy. Maybe we need to we can't have a lot of people in the arena, but maybe he can get a seat. Just him. Just Dart Guy.
Just Dart Guy, yeah. Who knows, man? He is a character. I've heard him talk a few times, and like I'm pretty sure he's just a grit grinder that represents Leaf Nation.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Leafs, got a couple games this week. The Leafs actually have a few days off between now and their next game. Wednesday, the 28th, the Leafs are going to Montreal to play the Canadiens. That game could mean a lot to Montreal, man. But I still think the Leafs are going to be able to come out on top.
Buddy, like the Leafs can really seriously be a big hindrance to Montreal there in the next 2 games, because playing against Montreal, I think the Leafs are going to come in, and I think they're playing really good hockey. And I don't think Montreal is. I think that we're going to come in hot, and I feel like it's going to be another statement game because I feel like we've needed them, and we got one in the last one. I feel another one coming up. Statement game against there, but playing against Vancouver. Vancouver seems to play us pretty hard right now, and I think that they're rallying, and it's going to be pretty tough. So I don't know about that game. Like that could be worst case scenario for Montreal right there.
It could be, yeah. So here's the thing: it's a back-to-back Wednesday, Thursday. Who starts in net for the Leafs?
Okay, that's a great question. I am asking you. So you know that Campbell's getting one of the games.
For sure.
Okay. And I assume it's going to be the first game. That's just an assumption because of the amount of days off. He doesn't need any more rest. You're going to give that to him. You're going to play him there. So he's ready then to play after that. Thursday against the Canucks. So do you play Hutch or do you play Riddick?
I play Riddick. Because, my thing is, I've heard he's an emotional guy. Put a quarter in him and get him and look him right in the eye and say, earn your place back on this team. Like, take 2 points away from the Canucks, beat them, because we're going to the playoffs. They're not. Because I think that could be a clinching scenario for the Leafs if they're able to win both of those games. Because then Vancouver wouldn't be able to catch the Leafs, I think. And it's the perfect stage for Riddick to make a statement.
You're right. My first reaction was, maybe you play Hutch, but you're right. He is an emotional guy, and that's a slap in the face. It's, hey man, you failed once, we're done with you. Well, then why the hell did you trade for him? Goalies are going to have bad games. It was a bad game. It
was a bad period. The third period was bad.
It was. So I mean, whatever. You give him another look. And then guess what, though? That would then determine if it's a Hutch or Riddick on the next one. Am I wrong? No? I guess not.
I think he would have to play
pretty rash.
He would have to play pretty poorly for Hutch to come back in the net. I really think there's going to be either an injury or someone has to just be awful. I think Hutch could be in the net. Like we were talking about that Winnipeg game at the end of the season. If that game literally means nothing, that's when you put Hutch in the net, or you put Riddick in the net, because you're not those guys are hopefully not getting any time in the playoffs.
I was just going to say, I don't know why I'm getting all worked up about it. They're not going to play in the playoffs anyways. I mean, it's going to be, I'm hoping, Anderson and Campbell. And in future shows, we'll talk about that more. But let's get more news on Anderson coming back at some point. But yeah, I guess, no, you're right. You got to play Riddick. And that would be in game 2, right? Against Vancouver?
Yeah. And I just think you could get him fired up, man. I think, he's a guy that he gets so fiery. He snaps sticks. He's been so disappointed in himself. I've seen him hit his head off the wall because he's so upset. You got to be able to bottle that up and put it in the right direction. And I think, if he was able to make some big saves against the Canucks, like we were talking with Thornton being able to talk to some guys and chirp some guys, I could only imagine what Riddick would say to some guys if he stopped them on a breakaway or something. It would be gold.
I agree. Looking forward to it though. We've got some good games coming up. This is the stretch, man. We're on 10 games left. This is the home drive.
8
my
games
girls
left
were saying to me,
only 8.
8 games for the. Sorry, I'm looking at everyone else too. Think about it. My girls are so finally, Dad, we're gonna get to watch more in the first period because you said Leaf playoff hockey is important. So that's important, right? More important than sleep.
It
they
is.
Might have a good point. They kind of have a good point.
Yeah, it definitely is. I'm pretty sure that's everything we have to say today, unless you want to get in one last thing.
Instagram, Twitter, follow us, help us figure out how to get it out there, help us share it, subscribe, whatever, man. Just get some eyes on this, help us out. Thanks for listening.
Couldn't have said it better myself. You know what? I'm going to end this off on a high note. Go Leafs, go.